Okay, so Be'ezras Hashem, we are continuing with our weekly series of shirim on the Ramchal's Adir BaMarom, and today Be'ezras Hashem we're going to be completing Parak Gimel and preparing ourselves to move in to the actual content, to the beginning of the expressions of how Hakadosh Baruch Hu reveals Himself. Until now, we've been working through the introductions and the setups in which Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai v'Chaverov, as reflected and refracted through Ramchal's neshama and his understanding, have developed the stage in which the revelation of secrets are going to come out. Last week, what we started with was the recognition that the secrecy inherent to Pnimius HaTorah is not an accidental, circumstantial secrecy, as if it's secret because of X, Y, or Z, and once X, Y, or Z are taken care of, there's no longer a need for the secrecy, but rather they represent an essential secrecy to the degree that their secrecy is independent of any external factors, but rather is integral to the nature of the wisdom itself, which is why that the whispering secrets of Pnimius HaTorah is not simply so that those who should not hear don't hear, but rather it is reflective of the fact that while we would like to say what we want to say out loud, nevertheless, saying something out loud implies a clear comprehensibility and a full explication of the content being discussed. And that is never possible when it comes to Pnimius HaTorah, because as reflective and representative of the infinite source of all things, it can never lay claim to the absolute knowledge of what it comes to represent. Therefore, the whispering is less of a political or social device, but rather a reflection of the ontology of the teachings themselves to the degree that they can only be revealed by way of the whisper, as if to say that that bifurcated stance in which Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai finds himself, Vai'i galina, Vai'i lo galina, woe to me if I reveal, woe to me if I don't reveal, it never finds a satisfactory synthesis, but rather both polarized elements of that paradox are taking shape at every moment, to the degree that whenever something is being said, it's also being unsaid. And when something is being unsaid, it's being said at the same time. This is the secrecy inherent within the necessary revelation of Pnimius HaTorah, which is why it's ne'eman ruach machasa davar, that only a person who has patience, only a person who has a stability of self, who has a semblance of calmness to the degree that they're not rushing to get anywhere, there's no bahala, there's no bilbul, there's no trying to get out of the place that I'm in so that I could arrive at some imagined destination where I can finally be. That type of bilbul hadas, that halichas hanefesh, that to and fro nature of spiritual experience, is the antithesis to the revelation of Pnimius HaTorah. Pnimius HaTorah has to be revealed by way of the ne'eman ruach, a calmness of spirit that can take a deep breath with the deep and profound wisdom of the fact that each and everything takes its time. Each and every piece of information must percolate within the self. It has to be processed. It has to go down to the degree that it can go down to that individual soul. And from then, when the person who's conveying the wisdom is living with the wisdom, so then the wisdom comes out in a different way. This is what the tzaddikim are doing for us. Now, as parrots, we have the ability to read the words and the technologies that are contained within the books of the holy tzaddikim, the true tzaddikim, like Rabbeinu Ramchal, and simply by reading the words and doing our best to mimic or imitate or imagine ourselves as mouthpieces to these tzaddikim in our generation, so we have the ability of awakening the osios machkimos, the reshimu, the irreducible trace of the author's neshama that rests hidden within the osios themselves. So everything that we're reading now in terms of what is necessary for the individual as the conveyor of secrets and the ne'eman ruach and the bahala sanefesh. I'm certainly not referring to myself as the reader of the text, but simply reading the words of the text by way of the deep belief of the kedusha that's inherent within these texts. So the Ramchal is now going to continue in terms of why is it that this secrecy is such a fundamental element to the Pnimius HaTorah. It's not separate. It's not a social element. It's not a historical element, but rather it is reflective of the content itself, to the degree that the light and the vessel in Pnimius HaTorah, as the Chachma of Olam HaAtzilus, that language, that impossible language, which is both a vessel and a light, because it's coming to convey to us the secrets of the world of Atzilus, which is both a vessel and a light, but it's all contained within lights at the same time. So there needs to be an uncovering of a secret language, a secret new language of Pnimius HaTorah that's embedded within Torah Shebechsav, and it's revealed in the Zohar HaKadosh and hidden in a very deep way within the Agadatos of Chazal, and then it slowly but surely finds expression through the tzaddikim who were koidim the Arizal, finding a new expression in the Arizal, and then all of the four interpretive schools of the Arizal's wisdom, which draw it out into the new personal idiom of those tzaddikim. Pnimius HaTorah is ultimately about the development of a language that is strong enough in conveying the secrets of Torah, not so much about grasping the ideas of Pnimius HaTorah, which is also something that happens one way or the other by way of the gift of language itself and the secret of Lashon Limudim, and the secret of that the Lashon is the Das, which goes down to the Yesoid and ultimately reveals itself in the Peh of Malchus. That language itself becomes an actualized thing. It congeals into a real lived experience of Chachma Shebechol Davar. So the uncovering thread of this innermost language of Pnimius HaTorah is expressed as Sod. It's expressed as Sod, it's the secret. And the nature of Sod is fundamentally connected to the secret of the Yesod, the foundation, the irreducible point at which all energies of the self, so to speak, coalesce themselves, right to the point of prior to revelation, and that Nakuda of the Tzaddik Yesod Olam that combines Shemaim and Aretz, and that quintessential drop of hyper-significance that is standing at the ready to be Niskala in the world so that there can be some revelation of wisdom, that is where the secret is taking shape. And so we're going to see now that fundamentally rooted in the secret of Pnimius HaTorah is the tzidkus, is the nukuda of the Yesod, of the tzaddik Yesod Olam, of the light of righteousness and the light of purity and the light of connectivity to the source of all things, which is the Shmiras HaMitzvos and the Halachos and the Los Asay and the Mitzvos Asay and the Torah Shebechsav and the Torah Shebal Peh. That's what's going to be the imprint of the Sod as it begins to be revealed in Mitzias. Zokt the Heilige Zohar HaKadosh. Amar Rabbi Shimon, Lishmaya le'ema dietziton la'ara le'ema detishma daha anan kiyuman alman. So we said that Rabbi Shimon is standing now with Rav Elazar Bey and Rav Abba, and he says, Ana klala dekula, because there always has to be the three sides. There always has to be the Amin, the small, and the Emsa. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is preparing himself to impart a tikkun on the world that was fundamentally necessary, in spite of the fact that the circumstances for the revelation of that tikkun were not yet at the point that they needed to be. The entire setup process of the Ijrab is preparing the scene, preparing the stage through which these tikkunim are going to unfold. But machatzte chakla zi'irun va'anan yoshvam b'shuli dekarma, and arima si asiv alma al chad samcha. All of these eis lasos lashem hifru sarasecha. All of these circumstances that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is becoming awoken to and awakening within reality are in Eis Lasos LaHashem, when there is not the ability for the lights of Pnimius HaTorah to come out in the way that they need to come out, where the whole world is prepared to receive them properly. There are individuals who take upon themselves the task to ensure that nothing gets lost and that all of the tikkunim that need to take shape are taking place. So when it was by Moshe Rabbeinu, and the Ramchal explains this already in the Adir BaMarom, which we saw, when it was Moshe Rabbeinu who wanted to reveal Pnimius HaTorah, so he wanted to convey it to every vessel in reality. Reality are kalim. There's various forms and formations and dimensions of kalim. And when the light comes from the tzaddik, which is Moshe Kibel Torah mi Sinai, the secret of Moshe, which is the Chachma, and Sinai, which is the Bina, which is going to be the revelation of where Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is coming into. So Moshe Rabbeinu wanted the entire world to hear. Moshe Rabbeinu was Kailul Kol HaNeshamos. Moshe Rabbeinu is connected the entirety of the nation, because the entirety of the nation is simply extensions of Moshe Rabbeinu. And therefore, when it came time for Moshe Rabbeinu to reveal the secrets that he wanted to reveal, he says, Ha'azinu Hashemayim Moshe Rabbeinu had to summon all of the kochos of Bria, all of the potential receptacles of wisdom that stood in existence themselves, standing at the ready to open themselves up like ears that could hear the words of Moshe Rabbeinu. Why? Because Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to fix the ultimate fixing. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to enter into Eretz Yisrael, which would have been like the binyan of the Beis HaBechira, and then it would have been the secret of Mahu Uma Shemo, which is Moshe Rabbeinu, the secret of Mashiach Tzidkenu, Mashahoya Hushiyah. But because Klal Yisrael and Matthias weren't ready for that, Moshe Rabbeinu remains buried Mul Beis Paor in a Tzalmud de Lav Haganle, in a burial place that is embarrassing for him and beneath his dignity, but nevertheless it's the secret of Moshe Rabbeinu who allows himself to be buried in the Vav of Gachon, and that secret of the concealment of the Eitz Hadas Tov V'Ra, which is the secret of a Yud and a Vav, the secret of being above on the level of a Yud and below on the level of a Vav at the same time. To those who are below on the level of above, of below, it looks like they're operating in the Vav, and they look up and it looks like a Yud, and to those who are above, where it's looking like a Yud, they look down and it appears to be a Vav. That secret point of the Yud and the Vav, of the Vav of Gachon, the elongated Vav of Gachon, which is Moshe's burial place, is because the full rectification of Moshe Rabbeinu's revelation of Pnimi Satorah was not yet ready to take shape. But because Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to impart a tikkun klali, so he demanded and he awoken a klaliest form of listening. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, on the other hand, understands that he doesn't represent the entirety of existence. He's like Moshe Rabbeinu, he's the tzaddik yesod olam, and he's yachol liptar sa olam and hadin. But Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is working with 10 talmidim in a microcosm, in a microscopic representation of the das of Moshe Rabbeinu, is Rabbi Shimon v'chaverav, and the quintessential expression of that is Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Lazar, and Rav Abba, who represent the Gimel Ration, that das of Moshe Rabbeinu. But because Rashbi was not the klaliest, the general spirit of Moshe Rabbeinu, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai didn't have to ask Shamayim to listen or the Aretz to listen. He didn't have, so to say, such grandiose perspectives of what was going to take shape. He wanted to rectify a particular tikkun that would open up the pathway so that all particularized tikkunim in the process of exile can take shape. In the secret of Kiloi Tishkach Mipi Zaro, that there's going to be multiple iterations of Zaro. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is not going to say all that needs to be said, but it's with Rabbi Shimon's opening that enables all that needs to be said. Unlike Moshe Rabbeinu, who wanted to say everything that needed to be said. So Moshe Rabbeinu demanded that the Shemayim and the Earth listen because of the greatness of his mission. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai doesn't demand that because he understands the secret of his tikkun is going to be the small that contains the large. The secret of miyut hamachzik esameruba, the secret of the tikkun haprat that contains within itself the potency of the klal. Moshe Rabbeinu was the klal that had the ability to go down to every prat. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is the prat that contains within itself the capacity of the klal. And so that's why Rabbi Shimon says, L'shmaya lo ema diyatzitun. You don't have to listen to me, Shemayim. Ula'are lo ema ditishman. Don't be concerned about listening to me. The ha'anan kiyuma alman. We're enough right now. Va'amar, zak the Ramchal. Amar Rabbi Shimon, L'shmaya lo ema diyatzitun. He says to Shemayim, I'm not concerned whether you listen or not. Why? I already explained this to you above with regards to Moshe Rabbeinu, with regards to this ha'azana hazos, this listening, this request of existence to listen to the Torah. But right now, says the Ramchal, I want to explain to you why Rabbi Shimon says bedafka that he doesn't need this, unlike Moshe Rabbeinu who did need it. The secret of why Rashbi doesn't need to make this announcement to awaken the heavens and the earth to listen like Moshe Rabbeinu did is contained within the end of his statement, which is the ha'anan kiyuma alma, meaning to say the reason that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai doesn't need to awaken Shemayim and Aretz is because from the perspective that he's sitting, all that exists is him, Rab Abba, and Rav Elazar Brei, and the rest of the Talmidim, because he's aware of the microcosm nature of his fixing. There are times where the tikkunim have to extend themselves outward so that they include all particulars. The whole needs to take into consideration all of the eventual prats, all of the parts. And that's the secret of it's not enough for Moshe Rabbeinu to do it on his own. Moshe Rabbeinu contains all of the neshamos within him. And these are the tikkunim that need to extend across large swaths of people. But other times it's not going to be so much about the quantitative extension outwards, but rather nichlal b'ma'at. It's going to be a minimization of the quantity, v'yagia l'mu'atim, and it's going to be a partial form and a partial tikkun. V'chein haya b'inyan zeh shel ha'idra. This is the nature of what the idra was. It wasn't the collective tikkun. The idra zuta is more of a collective tikkun, and then Mashiach Tzidkenu is going to be the ultimate collective tikkun. The idra rabbah was a preparatory stage of a particularized tikkun, but because of the potency of the particularity of it, it makes space for each and every person. Ki hari kain hitchil. This is how the entire idra started off. We're small in number. We're not large in number. V'hem lo hayu ela asara. It was only 10 of them, which represented a singular parts of. V'hayalem letakin ba'avur kol Yisrael. And they needed to try now and fix everything for the sake of Klal Yisrael. V'al kein hayazman lios koilel hamruba b'muat b'soid hayasoid. And because the responsibility of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was different than Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu had to contain the all within the all. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai had to make a fixing for everybody, but it had to be a fixing that was contained in the minimal amount. And the only place place that contains the secret of this minimal amount that holds more than itself is the secret of the Yesod. The Yesod is the Miyut HaMachzik Maruba. As Rabbi Nachman says that the secret of the tzaddik is ultimately the secret of Miyut HaMachzik Maruba, because there's a Meruba there, there's the Chachma, there's the Bina, there's the Das, there's the Chesed, there's the Gevura, there's the Tferes, there's the Netzach, and there's the Yehod, which are all coalescing into the secret point of the collection of the Likut, of the Yalkut Yosef, and that secret of the Yesod. So it's a Miyut, it's one singular point, it's a drop, but it contains all potency within it, just as the Zera that comes from the Yesod is minimal, but it contains the potency of the entire self that will emerge afterwards. So that's the secret of the Yesod. And because Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was awakening this tikkun of the minimal amount that contains the all, which is the secret of secrecy that's concealed within the Yesod, the Or HaGanuz, that light that is contained, that or tzadikim yismach, so it needed to be in a secret way. V'kulam netaknu v'nizdamnu b'soid zeh. The secret of the Yesod is the sod. It is the secret of how the minimal can hold the many. It's a secret of the tzimtzum, lios masha na'aseh behem, ki ilu na'aseh b'chol Yisrael. The secret of the tikkun of Rabbi Shimon, and the reason that it had to remain in a secret because it was caught within the sphere or the locution of Yesod, is the secret that it needed to be as if it was being done on the part of the entirety of Klal Yisrael. Amar Milan Ela, and therefore he said those words. Kihine Moshe, when it came to Moshe Rabbeinu, Adir. The opposite is true. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted this rectification to extend and for everybody to hear across the Bria. It didn't have to remain in a secret. Everybody should find themselves in that revelation of Moshe Rabbeinu. Achkan, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to take his innermost point and extend it to everybody. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai wanted to draw everybody into his innermost point. That's why Ashrei Ha'oimdim al Seidecha. Rabbi Shimon's inyan is a secret. Now that secret is not relegated to a select few. It's relegated to those who believe in Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's secret. Yochel ani liptar es ha'olam min adin. What's the yocheles here? It's if you believe in me. That's misha ma'amin b'Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai yesh lo chizuk b'Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. One who believes in Rashbi's koyach is nichlal within the koyach of Rashbi. By Moshe Rabbeinu, it's different. Moshe Rabbeinu's tikkun is rooted in Moshe Rabbeinu, but the only way for Rashbi to contain all of the neshamos is for everybody to know about Rashbi, and for everybody to believe in Rashbi, and for everybody to draw faith and chizuk from Rashbi, and the secret of kedai lismoch, the ability to rely on Rashbi. That's why it's a secret. Moshe Rabbeinu needed the whole world. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai didn't need anybody else other than his chavraya. Meaning, we're the foundation here. We've gone down to the fractalized quintessential drop of all things, and it's retained within the chesed, din, and rachamim of Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Abba, and Rabbi Lazar, and then extended through the entire chavraya. But it's a private tikkun that was meant to extend itself outwards. Kikain nizmanu kulam bebechinas yesod. All of them are gathering together around the singular principle of the yesod, which is the secret drop of Iker, that place of intensification, the Bas Ayin, all of the coalescence of the blackness of expression as it's drawn out from every possible expression to the degree that it represents itself in the beginningness of congealment prior to revelation. And therefore there was no need for others, but rather everybody was contained within them. Tana, it's taught, Razin de Razin, secrets of secrets, not just the secret, but it's the secrets of secrets. Kad Pasach Rabbi Shimon berazin de Razin, when Rabbi Shimon opened up his mouth and created an opening on the level of the secrets of secrets, is Da'aza Asra, the entire earth quaked, V'chaverin it chalchalu, and the Chavraya were afraid, Gali beraza Pasach v'yamar, they were in a state of revelation of secrets, and he opened his mouth and he says. So now the Ramchal is going to understand what is with this Ra'ada, what is with this ground-shaking nature of the revelation of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Tanu razid de razim kad pasach Rabbi Shimon. Zok the Heilig Ramchal. V'zekvar marti l'chosha ein kol minei hisar rishavim. Each and every point of revelation comes with a different form of awakening. And if the awakening is in one way, like we said, Mizmor LeDavid, David Mizmor, all of the different weapons, so too is going to be the orientation to that awakening. Ki yeshes iris v'ha'ara ha'geremes regesh v'ra'ad. For there's an awakening and an illumination that creates an intensification of fervor and passion within the individual. And there are those that come by way of silence and quietude. And this is going to be explained in the pasuk that Rabbi Shimon is basing himself on, Hamabit la'aretz v'tirad, one who gazes out onto the earth and quivers and shakes. Yaga baharim v'ya'ashenu, and he touches the mountains and they turn to dust. V'havin ki ha'oires afilu sheyispashtu el makom echad hine yochlu lihiyos miroimim mimenu. There are times where, even though there are lights that are coming down through a particular place, an individual is bringing down those lights, it's very possible that those lights are going to be from a place far greater and far higher than the individual and where they're holding. Sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mizdamein that big things get done through small individuals. Perish, sheyiyu sham, ve'im kol zeh lo mistavkim b'dveikus el hamakom hahu. Meaning to say that the individual who's experiencing that illumination, they might experience it there, they might experience that feeling or that awakening or that tachlis or that task, but nevertheless, they don't have a dvekus to that place. Va'az lo yired hamakom klal. If that's the case, the person who's experiencing the illumination in that place, on that level of spiritual awakening, because they don't actually belong there, so the ground, the space is not being awoken, because it's a momentary blip on the radar where the soul gets the taste of an illumination beyond itself, but the territory of that illumination and the space in which that spiritual truth is unfolding is not now being more occupied by an individual. It's not like, oh, welcome, now this person has been meritorious of reaching this spiritual level. It's just a momentary blip where that soul has the capacity of tasting their world in their days, and therefore the ground, the surrounding space in which that hasaga is coming from is not going to shake with fear, because ultimately there's no big shift going on. V'havein heitiv zeh. Understand this deeply, because it's possible for a person to be a vessel for a light that they are not yet ro'i to, and nevertheless, the fact that they can be a vessel for that light implies that there's some element of spooky action at a distance that hints to the connection between that spiritual illumination and that individual soul. But nevertheless, it is very different than being a person who has merited to cleave and to connect themselves to that place where they're almost like a ben makom in that place. Understand deeply, because there's a principle, a spiritual principle being taught here, which means that because of the distance between the light and the individual receiving the light, between the source and the extension from the source, even though the source has the ability to rest itself upon the extension of the source, and the light can reveal itself in that distant place, to the degree that they operate in the same territory, nevertheless, this is not what is referred to as dveikus or absolute connection or yichud, because the ideas remain transcendent to the recipient of the ideas and the individual who's drawing those ideas down. She'ein sham divuk, there's no real inherent connection. Ach lepa'amim yiyeh sheyiglu atzmam el ha'alul, but there are times where the individual down here is actually going to ascend upwards to the place above them, and they're going to be mistavik by b'dveikus emes, va'az yeh hara'ash, and in that place, when there's a fundamental connection between the content and the context in which the content is being drawn down, at that place there's a ra'ash. At that place, the context itself begins to shake, and that was what was happening in the times of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He wasn't just drawing down in case of emergency break glass information. He was doing that also. He was teaching us how to do that. But in the end of the day, Rabbi Shimon was zoich on all of those levels, and therefore the ground shook. V'zeh hamabit la'aretz v'tirad, that one who looks down to the earth and it shakes. Ki ein dveikus meaning to say, hamabit, what is the connectivity to the idea? What is the bond and the depth of dveikus that the individual can cultivate with the idea or the ha'ara that they're encountering, to the degree that their reception of that idea or their encounter with that idea or reading it or thinking about it is in fact going to be a true awakening of the source of that idea as well, to the degree that it's like Rashbi that creates that earthquake and that shaking. It's only going to be through the einayim, the einay haseichel, through the secret of chachma, through the secret of the bittul of chachma, that when a person is mevatel their bina and they get rid of their das and they get rid of their ability to understand the idea, and through all of their attempts at understanding, they come to a place lamalame understanding, which is the secret of chachma, which is the secret of the einayim, which can see something from a derech richuk and still be connected to it. In that place, that's where the dveikus is going to come into shape. And therefore, hamabit, someone who utilizes their eyes, meaning dail chakima biramiza, the eyes can grasp through bittul the depth of the secret and transplant themselves from where they find themselves back to that upper source of the idea, and that's going to create the earthquake nature of that revelation. Ke'ein dveikus ela b'soid ha'inayim. Einayim, chachma, is the secret of dveikus, k'may shekasav oid b'siyata d'shmaya lakaman b'inyan ha'einin, as we're going to explain above in the secret of the eyes. U'biyoit mabit be'einayim ela la'aretz, and when a person connects their mind, connects the seichel, connects themselves fundamentally through a moment of bittul, and when a person experiences bittul, then they become surrounded by and they surround within themselves the secret of the wisdom that they're studying, then it's going to be tirad. That's when there is going to be the earth shaking. V'chein yaga baharim v'ya'ashanu. V'giloy ha'idra na'aseh his'oris b'dveikasu. And the secret of the idra was that even though Rabbi Shimon was engaged in a tikkun ha'prat that was containing klal within himself, unlike Moshe Rabbeinu who was the tikkun ha'klal that contained all the pratim within himself, nevertheless, Rabbi Shimon's quintessential expression of the fundamental tikkunim is taking place in such a way that it's a real dvekas. He's awakening the same ideas in their source and drawing them down in a real way. And therefore, in the times of Rabbi Shimon, in the preparation for his revelation, the ground itself began to shake, and the friends were afraid, the Chavraya were afraid. And they are the rectifications in accordance with the time in which they are needed, in accordance with the rectifications that are being rectified. Again, we don't know how and we don't know why HaKadosh Baruch Hu plants certain tzaddikim in each and every generation in which they are planted, and the revelation of the tzaddikim, the Yechidei Hadoros, those singular lights that shifted the entirety of reality for the better and that continues only to grow and grow in revelation. It's not up to us to understand why or how or what. We just have to be able to perceive the fact that those tikkunim are taking place. V'hinei, and this is one of the reasons we say Tana. Why does it say over here Tana Razin Derazin? That it was taught in a brisa of the secrets of secrets. Kikain Asulahem Braisos. This was what they did. Rabbi Shimon v'Chavairov, they had braisos. They had different collections of writings. V'heimayu lahem kvar, and they were ideas that they received from previous generations that they had earlier. We see this in Safedit's News as well. V'heim hatana. This is the secret of Tana. Hamuskarim b'makom misrabim min ha'idra atzma. That we're going to see various teachings in the idra itself, which are going to represent the nature of braisos that were collected from amongst the Chavraya in different stages. So it's not a one fell swoop of a narrative. Ach zeh Tana sha'amar kan. But over here, it's not simply awakening us to the fact that this is a teaching that came from elsewhere, because that's not what's happening here. This Tana is Tana Razin de Razinhu, meaning that there's the secrets of secrets. Kikach bebeis braisos shanu zeha inyan. This is a secret that emerges out of two braisos otherwhere. Hachanos ha'idra, the preparation for the idra, bebraisa hazos, which is what we've learned up until now. Dahainu meitana arba Rabbi Shimon ad kiyum and almin, meaning to say from where we began the Tana Rabbi Shimon up to the Kiyume Almin, and then the second brisa, which is going to be the guf of the idra, which we're going to start in Mirz Hashem next week. L'chein matchil Tana Razin de Razin, begam ha'idra atzma mechulek lebraisas rabbis k'moshe timsa Tana Am Rabbi Shimon. And so we're going to see that what we've completed here so far is going to be the preparation, the first stage of the brisa of the idra rabbah, and then we're going to enter into the second stage of the idra rabbah's brisa, which is going to be the guf of the idra, and that guf of the idra itself is also going to be broken up into various brisos. But over here, if I'm understanding correctly, the Ramchal is making a chiluk, he's making a cut, a rakia between the parts of the idra that we've learned up until now, which are more the orientation and the contextualization and the set-up behavior and the secrets of what's happening. And then we're going to go into the content itself, which Be'ezras Hashem is going to be an entirely different thing. Not entirely different, but very different from what we've been doing until now. In the last paragraph of this chelek of the brisa of the idra, Zakt the Heilige Ramchal, V'amar Gali Beraza Pasach V'amar. So he's pointing out a contradiction in terms. Typically, the immature understanding of secrecy means that it's just something that's not revealed. But when it's revealed, it's no longer a secret. But like we just explained, the secret remains a secret even after its revelation. And therefore, we can understand this textual paradox, which says, Gala Beraza. Gala implies revelation. Beraza implies a secret, which is the absence of revelation. How could it be that there's a revelation by way of the secret itself? Elama, it's essentially secret, that even after it is revealed, it still retains a secrecy, but the secrecy now becomes part and parcel of the language through which that secret is going to be revealed. Gali Beraza Pasach V'amar. Rabbi Shimon says, I'm going to reveal by way of the secret, and he opens up his mouth and he says, V'ha inyan. Every aspect of what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai did and was doing was in connection to the fundamental secrets that were taking shape above. And therefore, every action that Rabbi Shimon was engaging in down here, and every posture and every expression and linguistic turn is all in accordance with the lights that he was drawing down from above. What does it mean? And he opened up. Who? What does it mean that Rabbi Shimon opens up. Pasach Rabbi Shimon. Ki hayam miskavin liftoyach mamish pitchei ha'oyres v'soides haTorah. When Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says Pasach Rabbi Shimon, when the Zohar Kadosh says Pasach Rabbi Shimon or Pasach Rabbi Chia, it means that not only were they opening up their mouths and beginning to speak, but they were creating openings and pockets in reality in which the secrets of Torah can now flow forth into reality, actually having an import upon the very fabric and texture of reality itself. It's not just a turn of phrase which says he opened up his mouth and he spoke. He did open up his mouth and speak, but by way of opening his mouth and speaking, he tore an opening within Metzius itself, wherein those letters of Metzius were going to shine forth. Pasach hamuskar b'devrayim hu ki hayim miskavin leftoyach mamish pitchei ha'oiris v'soides haTorah legalus hasordas hahem shareitzim legalus, to reveal the secrets that they wanted him to reveal. Ulechen b'hayoyser roitzakan legalus soidos gedolos va'amukim. And now in this place where we're at the precipice of Rabbi Shimon beginning to draw down the secrets of the Idra themselves, the content of the Idra, the secrets of the Partsufim, and the secrets of Atika Kadisha and Ser Anpin, and the Yichud between Keser and Zah and Keser, and the secret between Chachma and Bina, which is hinted to in the Idra Rabbah but revealed fully in the Idra Zuta by Rabbi Shimon's deathbed. Here Rabbi Shimon wants to reveal profoundly deep and large secrets. I'm going to reveal it by way of a secret. He wants to reveal the secret with tikkunim, with all of the proper intentions. Rabbi Shimon and the Zohar doesn't say, and my secret will be revealed, but rather, biraza, I will reveal it by way of secrecy. Because like we said, even the rectification and the revelation still continues to take place by way of sod. It's not an undoing of the sod, but rather a revelation of the sod. It's revealed by way of the sod itself. And this is one of the elements that we're going to begin to understand in the secret of Bereshis, which is the very beginning of something, as Rabbi Shimon points out in the Tikkunim, the 70 permutations of the word Bereshis. One of them is going to be bris eish. It's the secret of the Yesoid, that point of convergence of all of the kochos from above, and that quintessential drop of expression, that seminal point of information, is going to be revealed by way of the flames of intensity. It's Yorik Kechetz. So what does it mean, bris eish? We're talking about the Yesoid and the secrecy inherent within the Yesoid. The Yesoid, the foundation of all things, that part of the self that remains concealed, that proprietary point at which the self expresses itself outwards, it remains a complete secret. It's the gematria of ayin. It's the secret of the ayin. It's ayin lo ra'ascha. No eye has seen it. It is the secret of all secrets. And it must return, and it must maintain a secrecy and a concealment. When we're trying to draw down from the or zarua l'tzadik u'liyishra simcha, the or tzadikim yismach, what we're doing is we're drawing down the light of Yesoid, but with the fundamental understanding that it remains concealed. It's the Or Haganuz, even after it's revealed, it remains in a Genizu de Chachmasa, that it's a containment of the wisdom and the secret of Reshad Loas Yada. And in that point, what we're trying to do is we're trying to draw down the revelation, but it still is going to remain concealed, but it's going to be a revelation of that concealment itself. What did the Chachamim tell us? What did Chazal tell us about Sisrei Torah? That they're fundamentally connected to the biological dimensions of human beings in this world as well, that the place of the Yesod represents the reproductive organs of the self, which are always going to be concealed with the same snius as the secrets of Torah themselves. Ma yerech b'seser, what is the thigh which rests in a hidden place? After divrei Torah b'seser, so too the words of Torah have to remain in a hidden place. V'hu ki ha-yesod nikar yerech, the Yesod, that point of the convergence of the inside with the outside, the secrecy of all secrets, is that point of revelation, the yerech, the rosh tevos of Yam, Rukia, and Kisei, which are all the imaginative faculties that enable us to connect with Tchelis. V'hu nistar b'soid, and it's all concealed by way of secrecy, like the secret. V'tzarech lahachzir oisa b'b'chinas giloi k'nizka la'el. And it came time now that Rabbi Shimon the Tzaddik said, Oilam giloi medrash ha'ne'elam. That was now going to come into revelation. The tipa at the point of the Yesod, the Chesed, b'fum da'ama, that light of Chesed and Tikkun is going to be revealed through the koyach of Rabbi Shimon. V'zeh b'koyach Hashem Yud Gimel Lamed Pei Zayin Kuf, because we know that the 42-letter name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the 6 psukim of is 7 psukim of 6 letters each, which corresponds to the lower 7 spheros, and the sixth name is Yud Gimel Lamed Pei Zayin Kuf, which stands for Yachid Ge'ei La'amecha Penei Zocher Kedushasecha, the secret of the Yesod, the secret of the Gilui of that Pazak, the secret of that Hisgalus of the light, which is Oile in gematria, the same gematria as Yerech, which is that hiddenness. So we see that Sod is Higala and not. It has to be revealed by implication that it's still concealed, and it's the same gematria as Yerech, which is the gematria of 230, because it's the secret of Yud Gimel Lamed Pei Zayin Kuf. Even though in the song of Anabakoyach we say Yachid Ge'ela Mecha Panei Zoche Kedushasecha, the Tikkun Zohar has a different understanding of this, and it stands for Yegalet Pidyon Zera Kedoshim, that there should be the hiskalus of the redemption and the elevation of the seed of the righteous, which means to say the tikkunim that are going to be revealed, that the light of Yesod, the tzaddik, Yesod Olam, and the Gilui Medrash HaNe'elam, the goodness that rests within every aspect of existence, the light of ideality that rests hidden within reality itself, that secret of the tzaddik Yesod Olam, of the Or Kitov, of the light of Yosef HaTzaddik that rests everywhere in the secret of Amech Kulam Tzaddikim, that is what is coming to be revealed, and that is where the pidyon of Zera Kadoshim is going to come from. Timsa, Shehu Mamish Belchinas Giloi Shal HaYesod. This process of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai of the Bris Eish is coming to reveal the Giloi of the Yesod, the Hiskalis of the Chesed that HaKadosh Baruch Hu desires to express within the world, of Latakin Olam V'Malchut Shakai, so when a person is contemplating the revelation of Giloi prior to learning the secrets of Torah, it should be with this name Yud Gimel Lamed Pei Zayin Kuf, and the secret of Yigalet Pedyon Zera Kadoshim of Yochid Ge'ela Mecha Panei Zocher Kedushasecha. V'im kol zeh tzarich she'en megula rak letzadikim l'rishayim. And even with all of these prerequisite devices and containment devices and concealment valves, nevertheless we still have to ensure that these words are relegated and reserved for the tzadikim and not to go to those who are deliberately wicked, as the Ramchal has explained to us before, that one cannot teach to wicked individuals directly. If the teachings end up elsewhere as a result of giving them over, but it was done with some representation of the hope that it's going to go to good places, so then that's a different thing. That these teachings should not go to the wrong place. We have to transmit the nature of secrecy, but it has to be nimshach hagiloy b'soid toichasoid. It has to come about by way of a secret within the secrets, like the Agadita, where even though we think we know what we're talking about and we're conveying ideas, nevertheless the ikr is chaser min hasefer. The ikr, which is the pneumius of the sod, which is the rikia itself, that's chaser min hasefer. It's not that it's not present, but it's hidden within all of the riboy devarim and all of the osios. But nevertheless, the secret of the language of Atzilos that the Arizal gave us and that all of the tzaddikim amitim are working with is that there's a built-in spiritual potency and an ontological value that is rooted within the irreducible traces of those letters and numbers, and when we utter them, we awaken the tikkunim above as well. But it's not claiming that we know the essence of the secret. Anytime someone claims that they know the essence of the secret, then they're wrong. Then you don't follow that person. It's only that which is written in the book. Ikr chasam and a sefer, but the ikr, which is that liba lefumya legalia, that secret of Amunah, a person can come and stand upon the secret of Amunah. All they can have is Amunah, and it's specifically in that secrecy and the willingness to make that limit and the gevura and the bris eish that separates the healthy and positive revelation of secrets of Torah versus the self-aggrandizement that will eventually lead to an individual's conception of the self as perfect, which becomes a self-deification, chas v'shalom, in the belief that we can know more than what the books are conveying to us. This is the secret of revealing the secret by way of the secret itself. Gali beraza, it should be revealed by way of the secret. B'zeh ki techaber ha'ayin shel hasoid im hareish lamed. And when we take the ayin of sod, because sod is the secret of the yesod, which is the gematria of 70, and we connect it to the secret of reish lamed, which is the gematria of yud gimel lamed pei zayin kuf, or the yerech, and so we connect the yerech, which is the hiddenness, to the revelation of the sod, which means the balance of concealment and revelation at the same point. We're going to reach 300, which is the secret of shin, which is the secret of the bris eish, the shin which hides and reveals at the same time, the shin smolis and the shin yaminis, as the Ramchal points out in Kenas Hashem Tzavakos. Kitzarach lahamshich davar b'soid eish shel gevura. We have to draw it down with a fire so that the wisdom that's coming down actually performs the separation necessary, and it blocks the sitra achar completely, because the sitra achar is looking for the ikr nekuda that's chasam and a sefer, and they're trying to claim that they have the innermost point, and the secret of pnimius haTorah is no. All you get is the sod b'toch hasod. You get what is written in the books, and not that essential point. And within that pushing away the sitra achra, we beat it. V'hu ha'eish shel matan Torah. This is the fire of matan Torah, which came down to illuminate nishmas Klal Yisrael, and also push away all of the other nations of the world, and the secret of Har Chorev, which is the Churban to the other nations of the world. And this Aish, this secret of the Shin, which is the gematria of 300, which has the kolol of 301, which is the yichud of the Yarach, which is 230, and the ayin of Sod, which is 70, that gives birth to the secret of Bris Aish, the process of revealing the Torah in a way that's going to be an Aish that burns away concealment and illuminates goodness. It also has to be contained within the mindset and the yichud of Elokim, which is the capacity of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to reveal himself in this world by way of Chizuk and Koyach, spelled out with the Milui of Yudin, which is Aleph Lamed Pei, and then Lamed Mem Dalid, and then Hey Yud, and then Yud Vav Dalid, and then Mem Mem, which is the gematria of Shin as well. Shuhu Neged HaOrla. This is the secret of the Orla, which is also the same gematria of Reish Lamed and Ayin. We have to be ma'avir the Orla by way of revealing the secrets. A person who doesn't want to conceal something wants to live with everything in a place of revelation. That's the secret of the Orla. Bris Mila is the secret of the Soid, that something is now being folded over and hidden away and it cannot be revealed. Shehi Gamkein Besoid Eloikim de Yudin. That's also the secret, as we know from the Ari, of Eloikim spelled out with Yudin, which is 300. Elishu Besoid HaNachash, but in that place is the Shin of the Nachash, and that needs to be refined, to be transformed into the secret of the Eish. Ksheyesh Zaha Eish. And when this light descends down from the secret of the Tzaddik Sod Olam, as Loit Tikharev HaOrla El Yasoid. So then the Orla is not going to have any place on the Yasoid, and it's going to be Legilui of the Chesed Hamaskala B'fuma Da'ama that comes about specifically by way of folding over, by way of containing something within the Sod itself and not revealing everything, God forbid. There's a number of 70s, the elements of 70 that are hidden within the Yesod. There's 70 Chasadim that are revealed. There's 70 Gvuros that are Nimtak. It's a secret of the Zion. It's a secret of containing within itself all of the Zion Tachtonim, from Chesed down to Malchus, to Kulam Nechlalim, Besoid Ayin Achas. And all of them are contained within the singular unity of the eye, the Ayin Achas ala Avanim, which is going to prepare us for the proper intentionality as we begin to enter in to the second half of our Shirim, which is going to be the guf of the Idra itself, Be'ezras Hashem.